Welcome to the 8th Level Podcast and the Magenta Maze, our newest segment, where we navigate the paths of mediumship, psychic, and spiritual journeys. So grab your metaphysical compass and join me and my co-host Christy for an esoteric discussion that will challenge your perceptions and expand your consciousness. Welcome to the Magenta Maze. Let's begin. And welcome back, wonderful listeners, to our show, Magenta Maze, with Christy as your host and me, Lourdes, as your host. And today we have a special guest. Her name is Gloria Hass, and we will be talking about remote viewing. So let's go ahead and start. Hi, Gloria. How are you?
Hi, Christy. Hi, Lourdes. I'm doing pretty good. Thanks.
Awesome. So I initially contacted you because I started having these weird experiences when I do mediumship where I see a visual of, it seems to me like live people doing something right in front of me in my mind. I didn't know what to do with it. So I didn't know what to make of it or what to think of it. So I started looking for remote viewers, and here you are. You answered that call. So can you explain what remote viewing is to our audience?
Well, it's like watching a TV, but instead of someone being in front of you, it's like you can be watching a movie or something that took place far away or in another universe, actually, and inside a universe, anywhere that there's the energy of people is what you see. And you can actually target to see it because I've used remote viewing intentionally.
Okay, so you do, is that what they call CRV, like controlled remote viewing? Or do you call it something
Yes.
else? Okay.
No, it's controlled, but there are also times where it's not controlled.
Okay. How did you start with remote viewing? Were you born with it? Did you learn it?
I was born with it because I remember being a toddler and I was in the car with my parents and my brother. We were traveling from Indiana. We were moving from Indiana to California in those big, huge old cars. And this was probably in the late 1950s. So that's where they had the humps on the cars that you could stand up, no seatbelt law.
Nope.
And you're driving you're riding in a tank, and the back seats are as big as a twin size bed. And I remember my dad was talking with my mom in the front seat, and I'm standing on the hump, just looking out through the windshield. And it was weird because just before my dad started talking to my mom, I got up off my seat and stood on the hump. It was as if I already knew what was going to happen. And my dad was like, we're almost out of gas. I don't, we've never traveled this way before. And it was at the top of a hill. And then you go down a really steep hill and have to go back up a really steep hill. And that's where my mom said, go ahead, go as fast as you can to go down the hill because you need that momentum to help you get up the hill and use as less gas as you can. And he said, well, I don't know what we're going to do. And I'm like, and I just looked and I saw this tree. To me, it looked like it was maybe 100 feet away. But to the regular eye, not remote viewing, my dad and mom couldn't see what was going on. I said, Dad, don't worry. At the top of that hill, on your side of the car, because I didn't know left from right at the time, I said, on your side of the car, there's a gas station. And my dad looked at my mom and she said, don't look at me. So we went down there and I said, but it's right at the top of where you are going. So you have to be careful. You have to stop real quick. So that's what my dad did. And on the left was a gas station with bathrooms. And it was like a little mini store. People were like a storefront, like you had your old time mercantile. So that's what my dad did. And he went inside. He went to pay he pumped the gas, went to pay for it. My mom said, I'm taking the kids to the bathroom. And I just started taking right off through the door. My mom goes, where are you going, Gloria? I said, to the bathrooms. They're this way. So I already knew where the bathrooms were and there was a gas station.
So Did your mom or dad turn around to you and go, how did you know that?
No, after we got back in the car, my dad says, we're never going to talk about this ever.
Whoa, that's different. So they did not like encourage you or didn't realize that you had this ability to remote view?
Well, it scared my dad. Anything different, you can't outshine my parents. My dad and mom vied for being the center of attention in the family. And if my brother and I happened to be, even though we needed to get good grades in school, normal kids, that anything out of that realm, we were told we couldn't talk about it. And since I was different in that way, my parents and my brother ganged up on me and made fun of me. So I learned to be quiet.
Oh, wow. How about you, Christy?
Well, I had a bit of a different experience with my abilities. I wasn't discouraged. I wasn't told not to talk about it. I learned quickly that you just don't tell other people about it because they do look at you like there's something wrong with you. So I stuffed it. I just ignored it, pretended like I couldn't do that. And then eventually, I forgot that I had these abilities. And then I just came back into them as I got older.
Christy, when you stuffed it down, did you feel like that you were missing a part of you?
Yes. Oh, yes. I had a big hole. All of my life, I've had a big hole I called it in my heart, but I was just I felt empty most of my life, if that makes sense.
Yes, I experienced the same thing.
Same here. It's like that big emptiness. So, remote viewing. So then when you do controlled remote viewing, are you doing this for a client, Gloria?
Actually, I have done it for the police, for law enforcement, and for friends wanting to know what happened to one of their kidnapped relatives. And I remember also there was this one missing person on Facebook, and I would hear from Spirit, go to Facebook and be in my feed, people I didn't even know. No one that I knew, none of friends of friends. It was just like right there. So I knew I needed to. And what was really sad about that one is I knew where the man was, but I wasn't familiar with the vegetation in Idaho. And what looked like a tree to me was actually a bush, but it was it was a large bush. I said, he's in the tree, but he was laying on top of the bush. And what's sad is he was set up to die by people that said that they were his friends. Because I said, if you don't go, if you keep telling me you know where he is, and if you don't go public with it, I will. And she wrote and said, yeah, he was found, but he passed. But she already knew he was there for 2 days, but kept steering everyone in the opposite direction.
That's terrible.
It is.
So did you develop this, Gloria, or you just always been able to do it and you just continue to do it?
I've always been able to do it, but I've
Right.
noticed since my head injury that I had in 2020, that my gifts since it was weird because I grew up with a learning disability because of lack of oxygen deprivation after being in a stillborn for 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And what happened is that I wasn't able to achieve a lot. That it felt like my gifts were stunted, but I could still very gifted with what I do. And after my head injury, things seemed to accelerate. But also, I was taken against my will into a program where they kidnapped people and experimented on them, and they trained my remote viewing. They trained it even more, they
Right.
developed it
Okay.
even more.
Okay. Yeah. See, and because my remote viewing, I've never done any training. It comes up when I do mediumship readings. I didn't know it was remote viewing way back when I started working on developing my abilities to speak to spirit. But I didn't realize that was remote viewing. And I've always had a desire to help people find missing people or to solve these crimes like you do. But for some reason, when I try to help someone locate, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to pan out for me. So I'd like to maybe enhance them and help police, but it doesn't seem to be my path at this moment.
Well, the more you concentrate on your target, the more that will happen.
Okay.
Because, I've been able, like I said, to do remote viewing. And even before I knew that I was trained as a teenager, that it automatically comes up when I do my readings. And also with
Right.
healings, I know where somebody might be having an issue. And then, can work around healing of that area. But there are times where the remote viewing can get you in trouble, because I remember waking up to feeling a presence, and there was an Indian chief in my bedroom. And I'm
I get
like,
that a lot too.
yeah. And I heard, "Help my people." And he left.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait. What people? What tribe? Who are you talking about?
Yeah. A little more information, please.
Right. And then I said during the day, "Okay, I will help." And he came back that night, sat cross-legged, Indian style fashion, on my floor, and having a peace pipe, and looked like incense burning, almost like a fire that he had going. And then he said, "Thank you," and giving praises to the gods. And I'm just like, okay, now what have I gotten myself into? And then I sat and I said, "I don't know who this is for. I just know there is." And then he told me a name that was not hers, but I think it was the name given to her spirit name.
Oh.
So I called her by the name that I heard, and she came forward. She was a little hesitant, but she came forward, very shy, because Native Americans, they're not going to go to someone who is not an Indian
Right.
of their tribe and be open. And I remember cooking some meat. This was back a few years ago, and I was cooking some meat on the stove, and her spirit came right over me, channeled right on top of me. And I started cooking the meat and cutting it up the way she did, not the way that I normally do. And then she turned my head to the left, and I saw her children playing outside. And at that moment, I was in her kitchen, not mine, but hers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And seeing, I get goosebumps thinking about it and seeing everything. And over the span of 3 months, because she had already been murdered, things came about, and who murdered her and what type of a ritual. And even her murderer came to me and said, I'm sitting on my couch, and he says, "How do you like my handiwork?"
Oh, my.
And I ended up contacting the family. Little did I know, the one member who I contacted was in on the murder, and I received a death threat.
Wow.
Yeah. And it wasn't an immediate family member. And I could tell them exactly where she was buried, where she was. And I was told, "That's a lie." I said, "Her spirit is not going to lie to me where she is." So I backed off from all of that. And also I came across another And I was talking with the police, and they even told me that if I contacted the police, they have a long arm of justice. The family does.
Mm.
And but before all of that, before I found the family member, I contacted a police officer in Oklahoma because the vegetation was similar. And he told me there was this huge field where many years ago, back in the 1970s or the 1990s, where prostitutes were killed and buried in that field, and would let the police department know so they could contact me, and they never did. But what I have found out is the police really don't like to work with psychics and mediums. They're not comfortable with it, and some of them they would rather go by the physical science. But if you look at it after 40 to 50 years, because I looked this up, if someone is not mummified and their body and bones are not preserved, all the bones are going to be dust. It'll just be the cadaver dogs will be able to pick up the scent of what is in the ground, but there won't be any physical remains.
That would make sense. Yeah. Wow. Crazy. That's I guess that would be the downside of remote viewing too, is to have the guilty person or persons worry about that. Um, with psychics and mediums, since you mentioned it, I understand that a lot of remote viewers are or have psychic abilities and mediumship abilities. And so, with
Mhm.
mediumship and psychic abilities, like we all have here, do you think that any medium or psychic can get remote viewing and can train to be a remote viewer? And do you have to have mediumship or psychic abilities to be a remote viewer? What do you think?
I'm told everyone has psychic abilities. They can. I took a client into a past life regression, and he had visions, but it wasn't the expectation he wanted. But he was able to get into that area with my guiding him. And so then he said that he was trying to do remote viewing, but he wasn't doing the correct process through it. He was actually using a past life regression exercise to do remote viewing. I said, no, the two don't mix. And I told him, you need to concentrate on your target. And I believe with enough training and time that people can do remote viewing, that after being able to further develop their psychic abilities.
Yeah, so I've been looking into remote viewing classes, and a lot of them would start with a blind target, meaning they have an envelope, and even the person giving you the target don't know where the target is. It's a random number that they put on that envelope, and then when you start sketching out the area, do you do sketching like for remote viewing too? And anyway, but they start sketching out the area of the target, do a few sketches of the target areas. So I guess one of my questions would be, do you do sketching when you do remote viewing?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just
Christy?
see the image.
Okay.
No, I just see
Mhm.
the image and describe it. I don't draw it out.
Okay. Okay. So
I mean,
even
I
with
might be able to, do a rough sketch. I'm not much of an artist. Well, I mean, I am, but I'm not,
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Um, I could roughly sketch out what I saw, but when I'm doing it, it's all in my head and I'm describing it.
Mhm.
So, but I think it would be definitely advantageous if you could draw it out. But can I bring up something a little? Here's the thing about remote viewing and
Sure.
the government.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
want to make sure you wanted to go there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We'll go
Oh,
there.
yeah, we want to go there. Okay.
Yeah.
So, there was a program where they would take people who had abilities and would, it's just, of course, a secret government program.
Wait. I know what that's called. I think it was one of the project Stargate projects. They do CRVs or control viewing, remote viewing of them.
I don't
It's
know if
one of
it's
the
called
Stargates.
Stargate Project, but I
Okay.
don't know what they were called. I
Okay.
just
It's
know they had a
called,
bunch of people. Yeah, what was it called, Gloria?
it started with the Montauk Project
Yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
went
Okay.
into MK Ultra, MI Lab, and it's called Secret Space Programs.
Okay. Is that with Joe Monagle and maybe Ingo Swan, I think, is the other famous psychic that was in there. But anyway, go ahead, Christy. Go for the
Well,
government stuff.
well, the government stuff. Well, they're finally, stopped. It's still going on, but it's kind of like, yeah, they do it, but they don't really talk about it. But it does happen, and they made a movie about it. Can't remember what it was called. Ugh, I'll think of it later. But I mean, I had watched a documentary on it, and this person did a remote viewing exercise, and they were looking for something specific in the woods, and this person sketched it out, and where their target was, there was we're in the middle they're in the middle of the woods. They're going, well, there's a chain link fence there, and they're going, we're in the woods, where would we find a chain link fence? He goes, yep, there's a chain link fence, and then there's these things in the ground, like they're like a manhole cover, but not that heavy, in the middle of the woods inside these chain linked fences. And they're like, okay, this is really weird. And they went and he said, well, it was this direction. And so they went that direction. They found the chain link fence. It had been overgrown and fallen down. And it was an old government underground. I don't know what you call it. Compound. It was crazy.
Oh, I wish you would know the name of that movie. That sounds really interesting.
I'll look it up.
I know that Vin Diesel was in a movie not that long ago called Bloodshot, and it was about how he was taken. They took his consciousness when he had died and rebuilt his whole body, and they used him as a super soldier. And he could find people, he could touch things and remote view because it was all fed into the computer program. And that's more advanced as to what happened to the children and the people that were fed by the government, and all branches of the military are included, because I was taken to the Air Force Base by where I lived, and my parents signed me over.
Oh, wow.
And they got money.
Wow.
Not everyone did, but my parents did, because how else are you going to pay off a 20-year mortgage in 7 to 9 years?
That's true. So when you were in there, did you enjoy it?
No.
Oh, because were you working too hard? Are they working you like crazy?
They torture you physically, emotionally,
Oh,
enhance your body. My bones are enhanced.
oh, wow.
It's very, and a lot of the people that I have spoken to, been in the programs, we all have chronic pain. We all have health issues. And what they did was they fed drugs into our body and split our personalities into different alternate personalities. And when you are in a program where you go out and kill someone, you feel like you're having a nightmare if you don't know what's going on. I mean, slash and dash, blood everywhere. It's as bad as a horror movie. And I was also in espionage. I was a spy. I was a courier. And while it's nice to meet the people I worked with, to know that I'm not alone. We've all lived through that nightmare. And some people even have cancer because of the drugs that were fed into their system. So when they did, it's similar to the Marvel and, comics, where you have, like Iron Man, or DC Comics and Iron Man and stuff. That was our body. And what they did was they put all of this stuff, pumped drugs into our system, gel, all this other stuff while we were enhanced. And all of that's going to be toxic to us in our waking life. And remember having these things, like the Hulk program is what they called it. And it's not something good. And then they wipe your memory. So I missed my entire junior year of high school. Some of that memory is coming back, but they can still come to me in my sleep and put implants. They put one behind my right eye to keep track, because I thought I was being smart. I got a Faraday bag and I put my phone in it so I could go dark. Now they know everyone I talk to, everyone I see, and everywhere I go.
Wow. It's like you have to Faraday your whole house, don't you?
Oh, they would come and get me at that point.
Oh my God. How do you get out of that? Or can you not?
Don't.
Because, okay.
You don't get out of it, because there are people who are diffusing their implants, and some have had them removed, but then once the program finds out, they're right there back, putting them back in. Wow. So there's nothing you can do about it. You are in it for life until you die. And then I'm sure they're looking at ways to continue that, to suck out your spirit so they can continue using you, because they've also cloned everyone's alternate personalities. They know their voice, and they go ahead and send them on missions in hologram style. And there are times where everyone can pick up on that.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes. Oh my goodness, Gloria. Whew. I didn't expect to hear all that with this remote program.
Chris, that's why I was quiet. And I was quiet in the beginning, but Christy opened up that door.
I'm sorry. That door there. I was talking about the remote viewing program.
Well, this is all part of the remote viewing program with the government, because they will also sit and see where someone is, and you also see it. But to me, that's all part of remote viewing. And for people like you might not, will say no.
Wow. Huh. Gloria, I remember, I don't know, a year back, was that you? I want to make sure it was you. We were talking about remote viewing, and then you were explaining to me that you were remote viewing some guy or friend that you knew, and you were in his room and he was with another woman, and you were remote viewing him, and then he turned around in that room, physically looked at you while you were remote viewing, and he says, "Get out of here." Do you remember telling me something like that?
Okay, that's two different things I said, but they were actually, who told me to get out, where I was on a spaceship remote viewing aliens. Oh. And they told me to get out. Oh, but I can physically transfer my spirit to someone. And I was talking with someone, he's single, he was by himself. We were talking, and he lived in Georgia at the time, and I was here in Arizona. And he was talking about possibly, we've known each other for a few years, of having a relationship. He said, "But you don't live here." I said, "Can I do something?" He said, "Well, I want to transfer my spirit." And I was laying in his arms up against his chest. Wow. And he could see me, but he could not touch me.
How weird.
Okay, and he said, I can't do this. I want someone I can touch. He said, he said, no. And he did sever the friendship because I freaked him out. But I asked his permission. I told him what I could do.
Could you remote view, like to me or Lourdes?
I can. It would take a lot of concentration. I know that I need to get into this certain space to be able to do that. And I remember hearing from this one pastor in Africa, and I remote viewed his church. And what I didn't realize was I was physically standing in the choir room watching them. And one of the pastors looked at me and said, "How did you get in here?"
See, now that is weird, okay?
Yeah.
How do they see you?
Because they see my energy form.
They obviously have psychic abilities and can see the energy.
Yeah.
There are
Even if they
people
don't know, they
who
can.
work in the prophetic who can see visions and dreams. So,
Mhm.
and one of the people who saw me, one of the I don't know if it was elders or deacons or whatever, it was an all black church,
Mhm.
and he looked at me and was like, "How did you get in here?" I went, "I'm sorry," and I couldn't get myself out of there real quick. I went, "Okay, breathe, relax, come home, open your eyes," and I did, and I was home.
Oh my God.
But is that kind of like like some mediums like myself, I can see spirit objectively. Okay, so I could see someone standing
Mhm.
right here in the room with me, but I know that it's a spirit, right? I know that it's a person that I'm communicating with in spirit, or they're communicating with me, but they don't. I can see them in human form, but it's different. It's almost like a kind of see-through-ish, but you still see them.
Mhm.
It's like a regular person and what they look like in life. But I know it's not an actual physical human being. So I think anybody with, even if they don't realize they have that ability, they can see spirit, hence energy. So I can understand why somebody who is spiritual, or has, and an understanding or a natural ability to see energy in that way, and they would have seen her energy. Does that make sense, Gloria, what I just said?
Mhm. Yes.
That's how they
If
see her, Lourdes.
if
Does that
you
make
would
sense?
look to your right now, what do you see?
Me?
Yeah, Christy, look to your right. What do you see?
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Oh my God. I've got chills all up and down my right arm. I'm like, holy crap, you're standing right there. Lourdes, I'm not kidding you.
I believe it. All right,
Wow.
This was
Gloria.
not rehearsed ahead of time.
Thanks.
I
Well, you were dressed. You were at least dressed, right, Christy?
Yeah, I'm dressed. I have
I
clothes on.
I just saw her hair. I concentrated on her hair. I did not concentrate on what she was wearing. I was concentrating the room and the light
On my
and
energy, basically.
yes.
That's cool.
And
See,
that's the thing, is some people freak out, because we say spirit can see us, right? They don't see our body, they see our energy. Just like, I saw Gloria standing here a minute ago, which I'm still goosebump from head to toe here. That freaks me out. Very cool. But I saw her, but it was her energy.
mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So I can't tell if she's clothed or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So this is why, speaking of government, other remote viewers, they're locked up in these really thick rooms, steel walls a foot or 3 feet thick, because of remote viewers like Gloria, who can just easily go and appear in front of you, Christy, today. But if she was trying to concentrate on somebody in the government or spying on other countries, these other countries also have these thick walls, so remote viewers can't just go in there. So is that really hard to penetrate into?
No.
No,
No.
No.
So why do
no,
you think
It's
they have
energy. It's
this?
all energy.
Yeah,
that's
but
right.
why do they
Energy
have
can
all this?
Because they're
because they want to be soundproof.
Okay.
They
Makes
don't want people
sense.
knowing where they are. They have a lot of technology in there that they need to protect against any other elements. They are bomb proof. So people cannot just go ahead and destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
And in
right.
January of this year, I was, this is not political. I was wondering, I was doing, actually, it was November of last year, of 2023. A friend of mine had asked me for a political forecast. And for January, I saw President Biden with Secret Service hunching down in a building. Of course, we're not going to hear about that, but he had a death threat on him. And then also I saw warships. And I told my friend, war is coming starting in January. And then next thing we know, we have the outbreak of the Ukraine. So I told him by summer, April or May, it's going to get lighter. And that's what actually happened. And now we're going into other things, but I prefer not to do political forecasts. But in these rooms, it's also without the noise, the remote viewer can actually concentrate on their target better without all of any distracting noises.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Can we go off the on a tangent here about
Christy? We're open. Go for it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Gloria just made me think of something. It doesn't have anything to do with remote viewing, but it does have something to do with. Okay, so I have a client who I channel their spirit guide for them, and this person would ask questions about, ask their spirit guide questions about their life and things like that. And one of the things I don't like doing is answering what I call mundane questions, like who's going to win the race, who's going to win, who's going to be president, right?
Yep. Yep.
So now, okay, yes, I'm doing trance channeling, but I'm still there. And I knew that we had, well, I'm not going to say that. Okay, so I told him not to ask about mundane. Don't ask about policies or political, who's going to win the race, what's going to happen with this political situation or this stuff, because I call it the mundane. It is not of concern for spirit. You know what I'm saying? That's a very human, this is a very human topic. But while in the middle of this, he asks his spirit guide while I'm channeling him, who's going to win, who's going to be president? Is it going to be Biden or Trump? And I hear his spirit guide say, it's not going to be Biden. Okay. I didn't say that to him because I didn't want to go there. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't. It's the mundane. It's not information that is pertinent to his spiritual growth. Okay. So we didn't answer that question. But at the time, this was before Kamala was, indoctrinated or whatever you call it. So it was pretty crazy when Biden stepped down and Kamala stepped up or was put up for the nominee. So it's pretty wild. I just wanted to tell you that. That's crazy.
That is because I asked who was going to be president, and I was shown a lion in green energy, which means he's protected by God. Then I saw a lioness, and then I saw sheep. So it is someone who is protected by God, and it may not be Trump. It could be someone who comes up out of nowhere and wins the presidency.
That would be interesting.
Yes.
Oh.
And then I kind of went, I wish I had said that. I wish I had proof that actually happened. Y'all just have my word, but I didn't tell him that. I just wasn't going to go there. But yeah, I heard not Biden.
Yeah. Well, Biden isn't going to.
That's right. He's not.
Yep.
Wild stuff.
But there are times like when Trump was running against Clinton, Trump was running against Biden, and it was like the day before, and they were recounting all the votes. And I was in this chat room, And I said, well, I can tell you who's going to win. And and they're like, who? I said, Biden. And they're like, no way, no way. I said, no, Biden will win. And the next day it was announced that Biden won. But it's not up until like 24 hours before that I was given that information.
Yeah. Interesting.
They don't
all this stuff is amazing.
It is, because spirit does not want people to say, oh, my party's going to win, so I won't vote. I won't be a part of it. It's supposed to be for all of us to get together and do what we need to do for the common good, what we believe is the common good of the world.
That's our purpose in life, right? Is to have these experiences. Spirit is not going to interfere with that.
Nope.
So Gloria, do you teach remote viewing classes? I think I asked you that before or something like that.
I can, but I prefer not to, because I don't want to be the catalyst for people to spy on people.
Oh my goodness. Who wants to spy on people? Well, I guess some people would want to spy on people.
Well,
that's what the government has. People teaches people to remote view so we can spy on their enemies.
On our enemies. Yep. Yes. Or you could use it for good purpose. You know, if you have family that's far away and you want to visit or check on a elderly grandmother who's far away, you can just see how they're doing.
And somebody can tell me that and use it for nefarious means.
That's
and
true.
I don't want to be part of any of that, to be quite honest.
That's true. So, Christy, so how did your remote viewing come about?
I discovered it I didn't know I was doing remote viewing. When I kind of stepped into my abilities, and I'm like, I think I can talk to dead people. And so I started going to circles and development classes, and my when I tuned into spirit to bring somebody through, I would start out going to either their house or a location. And so as I was developing, one of my teachers, I was like, well, I'm standing here on a very rocky shore. And I said, it looks like Ireland. I've never been to Ireland, but I've seen pictures. But I knew I was in Ireland. I said, I could feel the wind. I could see, I said, there's a castle-like structure, a rock kind of structure. So my teacher just starts going, well, walk up to it. I'm like, okay. And I walked up to it, and she says, well, walk in and describe what you're seeing. I said, okay, I'm going through the door. It's big and heavy and wooden. And so I went through the door, and then I saw this, and then I walked down a hallway and I saw that. And she says, well, open the next door you come to. I'm like, okay. So I opened it and I go inside, and it's like a church. There's some pews there, and there's a minister standing at the pew, and he smiles at me and welcomes me and says hi. And so I'm telling my teacher this, and she goes, you're remote viewing. I said, really? She says, yeah, you described exactly my friend who was in spirit, but that was where she was at this castle in Ireland with her friend who was the minister, who was now in spirit. I was bringing him through. Does that make sense, Lourdes? Did I just?
Yes.
So that's how I discovered I was remote viewing. I didn't realize that's what I was doing. So that was remote viewing with a spirit. So then I later started working on remote viewing to somebody's house. I don't know that I actually manifest myself the way Gloria did.
And that was pretty impressive, Gloria. That was
pretty freaking impressive. I want to do that.
Yeah.
We want you to teach us
a good Halloween trick.
Ooh, that's a good one.
But the other thing is, Gloria, I'm pretty sensitive to energies like that. But what if somebody wasn't? Would they be able to see you?
Some people can, some people can't.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that
And
was impressive. Go ahead.
some of my remote viewing is from experiences from the past. In a mediumship reading, a lot of times we bring in a memory, and the memories that I get are I can stand there and watch something that had happened in the past between the sitter and the spirit communicator and describe it. I can describe, I was in England one time. Well, the sitter was from England, and I was bringing in her grandfather, and I described her garden to a T, how big it was, the toy, the swing set that was there, the how the pathway that went through, the steps that led up into the house, the color of the swing set, all kinds of, what she was wearing at the time because she was just a toddler at the time. And a lot of people go, I have a picture of that too. So it's pretty wild.
Lourdes, could you look to your left, please?
Yeah. This.
What do you see?
Oh my God. Okay, this is weird. This is really weird.
What do you see?
She's here. Oh my God. Wow. How do you do this so fast? And when Christy asked you that question, you said, oh, I had to prepare, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, like, when I go into mediumship, I do a quick meditation, sometimes 10 minutes, and then I'll do my readings.
Well, I have to prepare when I teach someone.
Mm.
If I'm looking, see, we already have energy connecting right now. But if I would have to look at a picture to pick up about the person, I have to prepare for that. I have to concentrate. And I don't always pick things up at the moment, but I have to draw the energy out of the picture. But we've been talking for however long, and I can pick up on somebody's energy very quickly. And that's what I do is I take it from somebody I'm engaging with. I'm picking up like your energy and Christie's. And the other night, actually last week, I wanted to go visit a friend. I did it remotely, and it took me a little while to be able to manifest, even though I already knew the energy.
So what do you think the struggle was for that little bit of manifestation? It took you longer.
I was tired.
Okay, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Well, I think it's just the same as when you're moving from your logical brain, into the more creative side of your brain. And sometimes it's a matter of, like, for me to do a mediumship reading, most of the time, not all of the time, it's just a shifting of awareness. I don't have to meditate or do a little thing. I can just go, oh, okay, I've got blah, 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 blah. So I think it's just a matter of how quickly you're able to get out of your logical brain and into your creative brain. Because your creative brain is 85% of your brain. Your logical brain, or your thinking brain, is about 15%. We just don't use it that often, or most people aren't aware, or most people aren't able, or let me say, the general populace is unable to quickly shift their awareness to the creative brain. Does that make sense? Gloria is nodding her head.
Yes, it does make sense, because we inundate ourselves with the things of the world, and where it bogs us down. we are just so bogged down with it. So to be able to get into a creative mode will take longer. Turn everything off, maybe put on music or light candles and, just burn essential oils. And that way you can relax and get into your creative mode. But if you push your brain too much, it will clamp down and refuse because it's tired. And it just needs to take a little longer to shift, is my opinion.
Yep, I agree.
Same here. I agree. Wow. Any fun, quick story of a funny remote viewing?
Yeah, I can. Years ago, a friend of mine grew a beard, and he lives across the United States from me, about 2,500 miles away. He said, I grew a beard and I was standing next to him, only he could not see me. But I started flicking his beard with my fingers or blowing on it. And he goes, you're making my face itch. What are you doing? He goes, my beard is moving. I said, what's your beard doing? Moving. I said, okay.
Come on, no way. Whoa.
Are you guys still friends?
No.
No.
His current wife didn't care for our being in communication with each other.
Woo.
Oh, that's funny.
And after a 30-year friendship, she put the axe to it. She's very jealous because
bad.
I know
Yeah.
it was, but and he was even saying, I need to make my marriage work. I said, okay, no problem. It was a problem because we had been friends for so many years. It was a loss that I had to grieve.
Yeah, I bet that would suck.
Yeah.
So,
but I promise you both, I won't come visit much.
Much.
Oh my goodness.
And
you can come visit me anytime you want, Gloria. I don't care.
What, Christy?
You can come visit me anytime you want. I don't care.
Okay. And I've noticed that I've been doing some experimentation with my remote viewing, that there's a time when someone won't see me, but I can disrupt their energy.
Whoa.
And they won't sleep as well. Their days will be off. And it's like, well, you just have to be careful with that remote viewing when you're involving somebody else's energy.
I mean, you don't always have to involve someone's energy. You can just remote view them, right?
Well, I needed their energy to hone in where they were.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Okay.
So, and I wasn't expecting, and they didn't have any idea that I was there. They just knew their energy was thrown off for a little while.
So do you tell them later or no? Was this something you had to do something for a reason, obviously?
No, I didn't say anything.
Okay.
They still don't know. And I'm just going, okay, I know how that works. Forget it. I'm not going to do that again.
Oh,
well,
man.
And one of the things with as a psychic medium, one of the things that I hold dear is that, and I teach my students that, you really shouldn't enter them psychically or read them psychically without their permission.
Yeah.
Everybody does it. Sometimes I just get hit with it without even trying. Especially if it's somebody. I just remember seeing someone, I just walked past them and all of a sudden I see them being abused by their spouse, and it's the very person that they're with. And it hits me and like a ton of bricks. And I'm just like, oh my God. And we locked eyes, and it was almost like she knew I knew. What was I supposed to do? It's just some stranger that I'm crossing paths with. And I just, after that happened, I just took a couple deep breaths and I just asked Spirit to send her some help, some protection, and hope that helped.
I think that's what we're to do. But I went to look at my friend because I hadn't heard from them in a while. I wanted to know how they were, and I don't normally do that.
Right.
But I know I can, but I prefer not. That's why I don't want to teach people because of it, because, they could do that and mean harm because you can damage someone's energy if you're not careful.
It makes sense. Makes sense. And yes, ethics come very strongly with what we do.
There's always people out there that don't have good intentions, but that's the way of the world.
Yeah.
Whether it's psychic or mediumship or remote viewing or just, everyday life. You've got your good people and you've got your not so good people.
Right.
So,
right.
And like I said before, I don't normally do that, but I was really concerned.
Yeah.
And
it's the intention, right, Gloria? I mean, your intention is not to go and cause harm. It was your intention to go and check to see if they're okay. Yeah. To me, there's a huge difference with that. If your intention is to go and spy on somebody to somehow hurt them, then financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it all comes down to intention, doesn't it?
I believe it does because I've had enough through the government programs. What are your thoughts, Lourdes?
Oh, yeah. Everything. When I do mediumship and psychic work, it's always with intention. And I have never read anybody that without their permission. But there were a couple of times when things just would come to me, but I don't say anything to that person, but I know what's going on because it comes to me in a weird vision and messages, but I don't say anything and I don't share the information with anyone either. So yeah, intention is definitely in with the integrity and ethics that comes along with what we do.
Yep, everything with love and light and for the greater good of all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would do the same thing too, Gloria. If I haven't heard from a friend or a family member, I would have to do it that way. But it was the intention of just making sure they're okay. Hopefully you don't find them in a situation where you would need to call for extra help, but just to make sure they're okay. So.
Well, cool stuff, Lourdes. This is more than remote viewing, but
we got into all kinds of stuff, Gloria.
I loved it,
Christy.
Well, it's good to have a variety.
Yes, I love it. So, any last words, Gloria?
Just for people to give as much positive as they can in the world without having an evil agenda, but just, it's like with these hurricanes, pray for them to be dissolved, for people not to be hurt. It was like there was a huge group of us regarding Hurricane Milton. And it went from going into a category 6, brought down to a category 3 with all of our energies together. And while, there was still some damage, it wasn't as catastrophic as it could be. This is where you can use your energies to benefit mankind. And now there's a group of us there's the fires in Wyoming that we're looking at quenching, because just one person cannot do it. It's a collective. So put out that good energy, help mankind, help the animals, and make this place a more positive place to live without any political or religious energy behind it.
It's beautiful. Keep us all united and loving one another. Sounds good.
Exactly. Perfect. Nicely said, both of you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
concur.
Awesome.
This was fun. Thank you, Lourdes. Thank you, Gloria.
Thank you
Yeah.
both. I had fun. This is one of the more fun podcasts that I've done.
Good to hear. All
We
right.
try to keep it fun and interesting.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, we do. So thank you again. And everybody have a great day.
You too.